All right, so let's turn to our own domestic politics here. Very interesting developments. RFK Jr., who as of now is running in the Democratic primary against Joe Biden, is teasing a big announcement. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be in Philadelphia on October 9th to make a major announcement at the very birthplace of our nation. I'm not going to tell you right now exactly what that announcement will be. I can say, though, that if you've been waiting to come to one of my public events, this will be the one to come to. There, I'll share with you our path to the White House and how we can all participate in healing our nation.
So, big announcement coming shortly, and we have some idea of what that is going to be. Mediaite got the scoop here. Apparently, he plans to announce that he will run now as an independent. That announcement, as he said, coming on October 9th in Pennsylvania. They are planning attack ads against the Democratic National Committee in order to pave the way for this announcement in Philly about running as an independent, according to a text reviewed by Mediaite. Quote, Bobby feels that the DNC is changing the rules to exclude his candidacy, so an independent run is the only way to go. So looks like that's happening. That was from a Kennedy campaign insider, according to Mediaite. So there's been a lot of takes on
and questions
if he does run as an independent, which I think looks fairly likely, and he's been sort of, moving in that direction for a little while now. Who is he likely to take more votes from? Is it going to be Joe Biden and the Democrats? He is, after all, running in the Democratic primary right now and has this famous Kennedy last name that is closely associated with the Democratic Party. Or is it going to be from Trump, given that the vast majority of his sort of like online support and energy around his campaign has come from the right, and he's had supporters like, people like Steve Bannon who have been speaking favorably of him, et cetera. So one piece of data that we can throw into the mix here is his favorability ratings among Democrats versus among Republicans. Go ahead and put this up on the screen so we can see. As his campaign has gone on, his net image rating has grown more favorable among Republicans. It now stands at a positive 30% among Republicans. And as his campaign has gone on and people have heard more about his anti-vax views and his anti-Ukraine views and the sort of like, affiliations that he makes with people like Elon Musk, et cetera, his negative approval rating has fallen down to minus 43% among Democrats. So it certainly seems at this point it is Republicans who have a more favorable view of RFK Jr. And so I think the logical assumption would be that he's more likely to take votes from Trump. But I have to say, it's not 100% clear to me at this point. I think it depends a little bit on how he positions himself, Saagar.
Exactly right. So, and here's my other big question. Which ticket? Are we doing a write-in? Write-in is a failure. It never works. And it's one of those where, it would be marginal at best, and I wouldn't even think he would take a lot of votes. But there was a report some weeks ago, which we took a look at, but I was dubious of some of the reporting. It makes a little bit more sense now. They had had a meeting with the chairman of the Libertarian Party. So if he does run for the Libertarian Party, then I actually don't think there's any question that he would withdraw more votes from Trump. One of the reasons I say that is they've done a decent analysis of the past in 2016 of Gary Johnson voters and of past Libertarian Party voters and their crossover. Their number two choice was never the Democratic Party. It's almost always the Republican Party. So that means that they're more Republican aligned. Many of these people voted for Johnson as a protest vote against Trump in 2016. The same actually tracks for Jo Jorgensen, who ran, she's a bit different now. She's probably more like libertarian aligned. However, at the time in 2020, there were still a decent amount of voters who were libertarian aligned, not even necessarily with Jorgensen, but with the brand of the party that did come out and to support her. I actually checked the margins. I didn't realize, you could make a case. I will not make this case, but if you were like one of those vote red no matter what people, you would, what is the pejorative at the end? It doesn't matter. My point is that she took about 1.2, 1.5% in Georgia and in the state of Arizona. That's basically the margin of victory for Biden. Actually, more so. You could easily make the case then that a lot of the people who would have voted Libertarian, who will vote Republican, almost certainly cost Trump those two states. Now, I won't say that because I believe in, people can run whatever they want, and it's your job in order to earn votes. But on a practical level, that's likely how it would manifest. I do think that given the favorability, also in terms of if he's announcing his campaign anti-DNC, well, it's unfortunate, but it is true that the vast majority of Democrats, they're institutional voters. They like the DNC. They like the media. They have high approval ratings for the Democratic Party capital D. People who don't and who are Democrats are much more in the independent line camp, and some people who are on the Trump side. Now, it's not just me who is saying this. I've done like a survey. Every MAGA influencer, people like Jack Posobiec, people like Mike Cernovich, many others who had their immediate take. Because I didn't want it to be from me. I wanted to see it from the eyes of like people who are all in for Trump and for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Unanimous from them. They believe that he would take more votes away from Trump. And I also believe that if he's going to run anti-DNC, and specifically if he's going to talk about more with Ukraine, you can read a poll far more aligned with the Republican Party. The vaccine skepticism, I mean, there's no question that is far more prevalent right now amongst Republicans.
Right.
Reams of polling data to tell us that. And so if those are the three things which, you know, he gets coverage for, fairly or not, depending on what he's running, but, you know, if that's what he chooses to lean into, quote unquote, then I do think absolutely. I guess the case, if he were to draw votes from Biden, I'm curious, like, what do you think he would have to do? Obviously, and he said this before, he's like, look, I don't lead with the vaccine. You know, he leads with Ukraine. So then it would be, I guess he would have to attack him on the environment. But even
no,
that,
here
okay.
I'll make the case.
Yeah.
So I think it's most likely that he takes more from Trump, given his current positioning, as you laid out, is much more coded right wing, and I mean that's evident by his support. The more that Democratic voters learned about him when he went on his podcast tour, the less they liked him, and his polling fell off in the Democratic primary and whatever. So it's very clear that, you know, when they were hearing what issues he was leading with, it was not landing. I actually think probably the best case for him taking more votes for Biden is he just doesn't get a lot of attention. And Democratic voters see a Kennedy on the ballot who are not happy with Joe Biden, and they just vote for a Kennedy. And I think that's, you know, that's accounts for a significant bit of his support within the Democratic primary, because you have to remember, I mean, people are busy in their lives, right? They're not paying attention to all the ins and outs of this. And, you know, you hear like even the way he framed his announcement there, it's just like, hey, these parties aren't serving us. Let's come together, et cetera, et cetera. That's a very broadly appealing message that resonates with a lot of people, including a lot of Democrats. So you put that together with the Kennedy name. If he doesn't get a lot of attention or scrutiny for his other positions, then I think you could theoretically end up with a situation where he takes more from Biden or where it's roughly 50-50.
I think
that would
possible.
be my case.
I just think that given the Electoral College, given the margins that I laid out about the Libertarian, again, I only see an avenue for him in the Libertarian Party because he needs ballot access very late in the game at this point. If you're going to go in all 50, I mean, it's basically impossible to go with any other party. So if he's going to go Libertarian, that's already generally aligned-ish with the Republican Party, or has been in the past, and then you have the issue set at the same time. Funnily enough, one of our producers found this. He actually addressed this on the Theo Von podcast about who he thinks he would take more votes away from. Take a listen.
Some people say that that the Republican Party like set you up to take. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I hear that I'm like a stalking horse for Trump, and all I can say is, you know,
I don't believe that, Bobby. I'm just asking you. I don't believe that.
Well, you should ask me. I mean, you shouldn't do it publicly like you just did. But
really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
No, you should ask me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. First of all, if the Democrats make rules that say I cannot win, you know, and then they complain about me running somewhere else, it's like it's like a guy who murders his parents and then throws himself on the mercy of the court because he's an orphan.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to get public sympathy for a problem that they created.
I hate when I see Bananas Foster on the menu. You know, that's how it goes.
That I take more votes from President Trump than I do from President Biden.
Right. So why would that help them?
Yeah, it's not helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought about that.
Okay, so from the man himself, I take more votes from President Trump than I do from President Biden. So I actually think that's, I think that declaratively, he's seen the polling, and he says that's what he thinks. Well, so it's funny because I've seen a lot of MAGA influencers in the past who have promoted him, or at the very least have promoted some of his clips, things like that, who are now they're like, this is a problem. They're like, this is really bad for Trump. I mean, as I laid out already, 1-2%, and that was somebody like Joe Jorgensen. Given the Kennedy name, let's say he gets 3%. That is a complete chaos factor in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Georgia, in Arizona, maybe even in Florida. I mean, remember, Trump only won, I think he won Florida by 3-point-something%. So if we're talking about, up there with the most amount of independent votes since Ross Perot, it could significantly change the dynamics of the whole election. I do think it would hurt Trump, though, personally.
I think that is most likely.
Yeah.
The other thing that could happen, though, is like RFK Jr. is not a fan of Trump. I mean, he said very clearly to us he did not want to run as, you know, as his vice president, et cetera. So if he was out vociferously attacking Trump, then I think it could change the dynamics about, you know, who's supporting him. Because Biden's very dependent on their theory of how they win is by pulling together this anti-Trump coalition and sort of put all the ideology aside. If you don't like Trump, you're on our team. And so if you're pulling even a chunk of that away by, you know, attacking Trump as RFK Jr., running as an independent, then I could theoretically imagine. Again, I think it is more likely, given his approval rating with Republicans versus Democrats, that he takes more from the Republican side of the ticket. But again, I don't think it's like locked in stone. It could be kind of 50-50. It could be a little bit muddled. It depends, in my opinion, somewhat on how he positions himself moving forward. So anyway, very interesting development.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun to cover. I'll tell you that. I always enjoy these things.
100%.
Okay.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.